You're not actually trying to become a better version of yourself. You're just trying to become someone else. Comparison has its way of disguising itself as self betterment, self improvement, and I think sometimes when we are trying to change ourselves or try to improve something about ourselves, we need to ask the question of why am I changing this certain thing about me? One, is it because I saw somebody else have it and I think because they have it, I should have it? Or is it because you truly want to become a healthier version of yourself? I believe sometimes when I'm trying to change something about myself, majority of the time it's not always because I'm trying to grow into the person God created me to be, but rather to be the version of somebody else that is majority of the time loved more. I'm an introvert. I believe I'm an introvert, right? And sometimes I get judged for it, like, oh, why are you so quiet? Or you're not as fun. And I'll be like, okay, since there's a judgment I'm getting for who I am, I should become like more extroverted, more sociable. And it's not bad to be sociable, but I will get out of my design trying to be something that I'm not. When I see somebody else who embodies some personality that I believe is a personality that will make me more accepted in groups and by people, I compare, I envy them, and it's like, okay, I need to become like them. And I collide myself and be like, okay, I'm trying to become a better version of myself and I'm trying to better myself, but that is not the truth. I'm trying to become a version of somebody else personality that is more liked by other people. So comparison could disguise itself as self betterment, but truly you're trying to be liked by other people, accepted by other people, getting out of your design to be like somebody else, and you're not that way, just be accepted. And through all that, you do start to envy the other person, and you're always comparing yourself against that person. Oh, they do this, so I should be this. They look like this, they wear this, they talk like this, so I should be this so that I could be also accepted. And I believe while you're on that, when I was on that path of I need to be like this person. That's the blueprint in my mind. You know, they're loud, you're sociable, whatever the case may be. I compare myself against this person, and now that is a standard in my head, right? And I envy this person, obviously, and I do everything to be like this person. Now, every single thing I do is measured by this person in my mind, and I lose who I am in the process of this trying to be who somebody else is. I lose the things that I love. I lose the joy for who I am. Let's say I love reading or I love drawing. The way I do things, maybe I do things in a more slower pace, but like now I'm doing things in a faster pace because I believe that's how it's supposed to be. I start to get burnt out because I'm moving out of my design. It's like when a fish is supposed to swim in the ocean or the lake, now they're on land and they're struggling to breathe. But we are not struggling to breathe because we were made to be on land, right? But now they're struggling to breathe because you're not supposed to be on land. That is how it is. You struggle to do things. You now feel like you're not good enough. You're not doing this, but it's not like you're not good enough. You're just not good enough to be like this person. You are good enough in who you are, but since you don't believe that is good enough, you're now struggling to be good enough and better to be the version of the person that you think is a blueprint. And I believe if you have gone through what I've gone through, like you realize like you lose your joy, you lose the love for the small things that you love, your little niche things, whether it's creative, whether it's like game, whatever it is, whether it's coding, whatever it is, you lose the love for it because you don't see the value in it. You don't see it as worthy just because you're in the trap of comparison, in the trap of envy, in the trap of being somebody else that you're not. To end this chapter, I'll say that comparison is the thief of joy. It really is, because now you're trying to find joy in being somebody else. You're looking for joy everybody else, but in you, in the person God made you to be in Christ. And that type of, you may be like accepted if you acting like in a way that people are accepting you, but you're happy, whatever, but you don't have deep like joy deep inside of you because you're looking at it from everywhere but who God created you to be. Comparison doesn't only steal our joy, it doesn't only make us want to be somebody else, but it also creates low self esteem, pride, and superiority. These things seems like opposite of each other, but when it comes to comparison, something God made me realize is that they are another coin, like the same coin. Comparison can create low self-esteem, and through that low self-esteem you can have superiority against somebody else and be prideful in who you are. So let me break this down. Let's say you are somebody who loves to read. Cool. You're in a group that like shamed you for loving to read, and you're okay. Now I don't love to read. I'm gonna do the things that say like gaming. Now you game, even though you don't really like to game, you rather read. Now you game, and then you meet somebody else who loves to read, because now you have been engineered to believe that reading is weird or reading is not cool. When you see somebody else, even though you have low self-esteem, when you see somebody else who read, because now your brain is like, oh, reading is weird, you look down on that person. It's like, why are you reading? Like, you're supposed to be this way, and you think you're better than them because now you're not part of the weird reading group. You're not part of the cool people now in your brain. And that's how I believe, at least in my story, comparison created superiority, even though I still had low self esteem in who I actually was. So that's the whole thing. Like, you look at somebody who has your original identity, and you look down on them because you look down on your identity. I'm about to give an example on this whole pride, superiority, low self-esteem thing in the real world that I have seen on TikTok. So basically there's this on online there's this fight between Black Americans and Africans, and I am an African, right? And on the African end, they're saying when they immigrate to America, they get looked down upon, they get called names, booty scratching. Like, oh my god, that's so crazy. I haven't been called that, but like, like I came like at the whole Black Lives Matter thing, so it's like, so now the Africans, like the Black Americans, are looking down on us, and on the Black American side, they say the whites look down upon them. And I feel like this is a good example because the Black Americans were enslaved by the whites because the whites had superiority. They believe they were bigger than Black people. They believe they are the better species than Black people, so they treated them with no value, and they were racist towards them from slavery even till now. They're so racist towards them. And now I believe you could apply this to this situation because the Black Americans, even though some have low self-esteem because of generational trauma, slavery, racism, all those things that could make somebody feel like who they are, their skin color, their hair, their culture may is not worthy or valuable and is not accepted. That person, when they meet an African person who they believe is lesser than them, could have, even though they are also being treated bad and looked down upon, they could look down upon the African because now they're like, oh, you are at the bottom because you're like really Black. You're like real African. Like, I'm not African because I was born here. And I believe like that is like the whole thing. Like you have low self-esteem with the whites, but you have superiority with the Africans because you believe you're better than African, but you believe through generational rewiring that you're below the whites. And this doesn't apply to every black person, every white person, and every African person. This was an observation on TikTok. Take this how you will. Moving on. Comparison doesn't always stay in our mind or change our personality, it also changes our desires. And I've been reading the book of Samuel, both First Samuel and Second Samuel. And in the book of Samuel, the beginning of the book, basically, I'm just going to summarize this situation. There are the Israelites, a nation who don't have a king, like during this time, like in, I think it's BC, I think it's probably BC. During this time, every nation had a king, right? The Philistines had a king, the Ammonites had a king, all the other surrounding nations had a king, but the Israelites, but this group of people. And they're under God. They serve God. They are people picked by God to be God's people. So they don't have a king right now. They only have judges. And in the beginning of the book, now Samuel is a judge of this group of people, the Israelites, and they now are like, we want a king like other nations surrounding us so that we could be like the other nations surrounding us. And having a king is not a bad thing. Like, I believe a king is good for a nation. But they didn't want a king, so like just for the king to help them in its under God, to help them to be like one nation together, because right now they are tribes and they're not just one nation unified, they're like in tribes. But they wanted, the major reason they said they wanted a king was to be like other nations, and God didn't like that. When the presented the requests to God, they didn't like it. He didn't like it because, like, they are not supposed to be like other nations. They're supposed to be set apart unto God, to be His people on the hill and be different and shed light to the other nations. But they're like, no, we want a king like all these other nations. And that is where I believe comparison makes you want something, not because it will help you, but because everybody else has it. And side note on this whole story, they could have, God already wanted them to have a king. Like, God already said that He would give them a king, but the king they wanted wasn't a good king for them because they wanted a king like every other nation, and the king didn't even help them. The king was not a very good king. Like, he had like, I think, I don't remember, three, he has some good years and then fell off. He wasn't even a good king. And the reason why they didn't even get a good king was because they wanted a king like the other nations. And I'm saying this story is to say that when it comes to comparison, when you believe somebody has something, that you believe that that thing is so good, and that is what's making them better, and you don't see yourself as already whole and complete without this thing, and now you want to get that thing, not just because that thing will help you in your life, but because it will make you like that person. That is covetousness. And I'm a Christian, so I'm going to take the Christian route for this, even though I believe this applies non-Christians too, because you could have like a normal body and you see somebody with, like, I don't know, slimmer than you, big butt, whatever the case may be, and like, oh, now I want that because they have it, and I believe I should also be that way to, I don't know, get likes, whatever the case may be. On the Christian route that I'm gonna take, sometimes we could pray for things to God, ask God for things, not because the thing is going to help us, but because we saw something, somebody have it, and we're like, oh wow, you have that? That's so nice. This is bigger than mine, or whatever I have, so I also have to have it. Comparison does that to you. You know how I said the king that they got wasn't even a good king? Sometimes you could pray for what somebody else have, and you will get it and it won't even help you. That looks like praying for a husband before you're ready for a husband, and then you rush God and then get a husband that is not even a good husband, or a job that is not a good job. God is always going to give us more than we need. He always going to give us better than we are going to ever asking for something. So when you're asking something out of covetousness first, you literally get less than what he was already planning to give you. And I don't get less than anything he wants to give me. I want to get everything that he wants to get me. I know it's hard when we see somebody have something. I struggle with that too. I see something, my eyes are like, oh my gosh, I have to have that. But you don't need to have that. You only want to have it because you saw somebody have it, and comparison does that to you. So I believe at the end of all this, to bring everything together, to really repel against comparison, is first knowing who you actually are in Christ, and being content in who you are, being okay in who you are. You may not be the most prettiest person, you may not be the most smartest, whatever the case, even if you are the most prettiest person, be content in who you are, because you're only going to be excellent at being who you are. If you're trying to be like somebody else, you'll be an average person, especially to yourself, because you're not that person. You do not think like that person, and God didn't make you like that person. So you will struggle like that fish on land. That is the end of this video. Hope you guys loved it. I hope you got something from it, and bye.